What's the matter, Ducat? Afraid we'll take the station away from you again? In this video, we're going to go back to Terok Nor to take a look at another one of my favorite characters from my favorite Star Trek series, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Major Kira Nerys, a great example of a strong female character. Hey everyone, before I start this discussion, I have a request from this side of the camera. Please smash that like button, and also please consider subscribing to the channel. Both of those actions will help me out a great deal, and they will help the channel out a great deal. And now on to our feature presentation. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, and welcome to my retrospective on another favorite character from Star Trek Deep Space Nine. For those unfamiliar with the series, I mentioned the name Terok Nor in the prelude to this video. Terok Nor was the Cardassian name for Deep Space Nine. And I was conflicted before I shot this video because I was thinking about wearing my Cardassian t-shirt. I do have a t-shirt with the Cardassian insignia on it, but as I'll describe, as the Cardassians were the bane of Major Kira's existence, I decided to just wear a visual of the station for this video. So first, I want to thank everyone who supported my Ben Sisko video. Star Trek content is very, very popular. I cover a lot of media here. Going forward, I do plan to focus on Star Trek, as I did grow up with the franchise, and I have a lot of Star Trek memories and thoughts. But so I will be focusing on that going forward in a significant and a meaningful way. So I want to thank everyone who subscribed to the channel, and everyone who watched that video, and everyone who commented on that video, and everyone who shared that video. I really appreciate that. That helped the channel out. So there's a lot of content that I plan to make just on Star Trek Deep Space Nine. And in my mind, with the theme of that Ben Sisko video being a good example of a diverse character, I've decided to stay on that train and use Major Kira as an example of a strong female character, as that's the lens that we are in large part looking at characters today. Someone commented under my Ben Sisko video, I didn't really see him as a diverse character. Well, we weren't looking at characters like that in that way back in the 1990s. But based upon where society is right now, and based upon the programming we're getting from our major movie houses and our TV producers, there's an emphasis on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we're being forced in a way to look at things through that lens. So that's why I'm approaching it this way, though I myself was not looking at these characters that way back in the 1990s. But I think those same movie houses and TV production studios, they could stand to learn from us here on YouTube, and they could stand to learn from videos like this and analyses like this, looking back at looking back at how diverse characters were made in a quality way, and also looking back at how strong female characters were made in a quality way. Before I talk about Major Kira, who was the feature of this video, I am going to have a short discussion on what a strong female character is, and where I got the term from. Okay, so as much as I would like to, I cannot personally take credit for the term strong female character. That term was introduced to me by the Critical Drinker, who is one of the bigger media, pop culture, fanboy, sci-fi uh, content creators slash channels. The Critical Drinker, if you're unfamiliar with him, look him up. He makes a lot of clever and insightful content. And on Thursdays, I believe he and Mahler have an open bar with other similar larger content creators, and they bring on guys like Nerdrotic and Chris Gore and Baggage Claim. She's a female, and in some instances, Eric July from ISOM. So that's where I got the term from. And he's made a lot of content about Marvel, mocking Disney, mocking modern movies for pushing, quote unquote, the message and for pushing the strong female characters. So the strong female character, in essence, is an archetype that is there just to show that women can be strong and just to show that women can beat up guys and lead movies and uh, perform action sequences uh, just like guys, and in many instances don't need men, and in many instances don't even like men. And there are numerous examples of that in our current lineup of characters, whether they be fresh uh, original characters or reimagined characters. I'm thinking about Rachel Zegler's Snow White, but that's a different story. So that's where the term strong female character comes from. So as you think about modern strong female characters, you also have to think about the strong female characters that were done well. Sarah Connor from the Terminator series, or the Terminator franchise, she was done well. Ellen Ripley from the Alien series, she was done well. I'll even I'll even throw in Black Widow from phases 1 through 3 of the MCU. She was done well, even though she was beating up guys twice her size. She was a major part of that original Avengers lineup. So I liked her as a strong female character. And there are others throughout cinema and TV that I'm probably missing, but those come to mind initially. So that's where I got the term from. So after I finished my Ben Cisco video, I said, okay, well, there's Major Kira too, because Major Kira was a strong female character. And so she's worthy of having her own video, Major Kira slash Nana Visitor, or should I say Major Kira played by Nana Visitor. So let's learn a little bit about Major Kira. Let's take a look back at her and why she was such an important character in the Deep Space Nine series, and why so many of us are fans of Major Kira, played by Nana Visitor. You're probably right, Jasad. And if you were dealing with a Starfleet officer, they would probably admit that we have a hopeless cause here. But I am just a Bajoran who has been fighting a hopeless cause against the Cardassians all her life. So if you want a war, I'll give you one. So, how was I introduced to Major Kira Nerys? Well, as I described in my Ben Cisco video, I didn't start watching Star Trek Deep Space Nine from the beginning, from that first hour and a half episode where Captain Cisco was introduced to the station and we were introduced to all the characters and the prophets of the Celestial Temple and the Kais and the Bajoran religion. I didn't start watching from the beginning. I grew up with the original series, And then we watched The Next Generation on Friday nights back in Buffalo, usually over pizza and wings or some other fast food when we were allowed to have it in my home. So I grew up with those. And then partway through my undergraduate studies at John C. Smith University, I found myself in my dorm room on Saturday nights before going out to parties watching Star Trek Deep Space Nine. And so I think, if I recall correctly, the very first episode that I ever saw focused on Major Kira Nerys. And so I remember her walking in, with that hard walk, and her neck kind of, you know, and her sternly engaging another character, whether it was Quark or Kai Wynn, engaging this beautiful woman walks in this red outfit with the ridges on her nose and the jewelry in her right ear, and the short red hair. I think her hair was cut short at that time, but I remember she was stern and she was no nonsense, and she was accosting everybody she came into contact with. Yeah, I think it was Quark or Kai Wynn, because there were numerous run-ins with Kai Wynn and Gul Dukat and Gul Jasad, and in some instances, Captain Sisko. So that was my first impression of her. Before I knew who all the characters were, I kind of said, whoa, who is this woman? Who is this beautiful red-headed woman with the ridges and the jewelry and this red uniform, who's standing up to everybody, who has a strong personality, and who is flexing her muscles figuratively, and who's being very, very authoritative. Who is this woman? Who is this character? Well, it was Major Kira Nerys, played by Nana Visitor. And immediately after seeing her show up in that episode, in a very, very stern way, in a very no nonsense way, I was a fan of Major Kira and Nana Visitor immediately. So those were my first impressions of her. And I don't recall, it was one of the earlier episodes, but I don't recall which one. But I was taken by her immediately. All of it: her beauty, her strength, her wit, and just her presence. You don't want to ask me that, Commander. I have a bad habit of telling the truth, even when people don't want to hear it. I don't believe the Federation has any business being here. The provisional government and I don't agree on a lot of things, which is why they probably sent me to this godforsaken place. I have been fighting for Bajoran independence since I was old enough to pick up a phaser. We finally drive the Cardassians out, and what do our leaders do? They call up the Federation and invite them right in. So who was Major Kira Nerys? Major Kira Nerys, when we first meet her, if you're watching the series from front to back, I have all 7 seasons back there on DVD. When we first meet her, she is the I want to say the liaison or the representative from the Bajoran government on Deep Space Nine. When Captain Sisko shows up, he is tasked with taking over the station and also shepherding Bajor into the Federation, and he is tasked with running the station. And so when he gets there, the station is in disrepair. It is in it's in chaos. That's the way the Cardassians left it. And so he is tasked with getting things back to working order and establishing a rapport with the Bajorans so he could bring them into the Federation. And Major Kira is there. She is a member of the Bajoran military, hence the title Major. And during the Cardassian occupation of Bajor and the running of the station, she was a Bajoran freedom fighter. So during that Cardassian occupation, she was wielding weapons and leading teams against the Cardassians, and that's why I said I was conflicted in terms of wearing my Cardassian T-shirt, because they were very much the bane of her existence. She, throughout the show, communicated her disdain for the Cardassians, and part of her journey was seeing that there were actually some good Cardassians. They weren't all evil, like Gul Dukat and Gul Jasad, and for most of the series, Damar, and all of the other Gulls and Legates and the members of the Obsidian Order. But they were adversaries and enemies to her for most of the show. So that's who she was. So she played a central role in the story, number one, but also the shepherding of Bajor into the Federation. And she didn't trust the Federation right away. She didn't approve of the Federation coming to Bajor to take over Deep Space Nine. And she distrusted quite a few people in the beginning. But as I'll describe later on in this video, while she played several roles to several people during the series, and she was expertly portrayed by the very, very beautiful Nana Visitor. Much the same way Avery Brooks brought Ben Sisko to life, Nana Visitor, in a very, very expert way, brought Major Kira to life. So who is Nana Visitor? I'm going to go over that briefly next before concluding this discussion. Give yourself away to the prophets. Everything will change once you step down as Kai. You'll see, Eminence. Being in power is what led you on the wrong path. Don't you see? Now, just like a lot of the modern writers for the content and the programming that we see have come under criticism, many of the actors and actresses do as well. We didn't have these widespread criticisms of the actors and writers, the actors and actresses and writers from yesteryear. I'm sorry. But one of the things I think that can be attributed to that is, number one, the writers had a lot of the writers were older and had experienced life much more than the writers today. A lot of content creators have talked about that, but also the actors and the actresses were well trained when they got their TV and their movie roles. So similar to Avery Brooks, who had stage training, Nana Visitor had stage training as well in the 1970s. And she had experience on Broadway, and I'm seeing here in productions such as My One Daily. So Nana Visitor was a New York City native. Yeah. So, and she made appearances in many shows in the 1980s. I was a young kid and a middle schooler in the 1980s. So I was probably too young to recognize who she was. But she made appearances. She worked her way up gradually. She made appearances in Ryan's Hope. Who remembers all of the 80s soap operas? Ryan's Hope, One Life to Live. She made appearances in TV series like Hunter, MacGyver, Remington Steele, Knight Rider, Highway to Heaven. Let's see. Night Court. I'm seeing Night Court here. This is in Wikipedia. She made an appearance in The Heat of the Night. Doogie Howser, MD. She made an episode in the series. She made an appearance in an episode of 30 something. Looks like she was she co-starred with Sandra Bullock in the sitcom Working Girl. And this was all before she got to Star Trek Deep Space Nine, where she portrayed Major Kira. So she was very, very seasoned before she got to Deep Space Nine. And I think leading up to the show, she had just become a mother herself, so she was very, very experienced and seasoned once she took on that role. So I'm going to go over how she got the role for the character, because much the same way that Avery Brooks got his his role playing Captain Cisco, this, yeah, it was kind of by accident. It was very much by accident. It wasn't predetermined that she was going to be this strong female character. It just sort of happened with a lot of, and that's the case with a lot of great things that come out of Hollywood and from the production studios. Things just come together, and the rest is history. They don't always use words to make their wishes known. Sometimes they speak to us by touching our hearts, but only you would know if they had done that. So, everyone, this is from the Wikipedia page for Kira Nerys. So, you can look this up yourself. But I think this is important because going back to creating strong female characters, or any diverse character, or any character in general, it seems to work out better when it's done organically and when things just come together organically versus shoehorning a particular demographic into a role and then shoving it out to the audience. So this reads as follows. In the early stages of planning of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, the series creators wanted to bring in the Bajoran character Ensign Ro Laren, who was a recurring character in Star Trek The Next Generation. I think I recall who that was. Michelle Forbes, who had portrayed Ensign Ro, turned down the offer, so a new Bajoran character was created instead. Nana Visitor had just given birth to a baby boy mere months before she was called to audition for the role of Kira Nerys, and her becoming a mother actually shaped her decision process for accepting or turning down roles. With the character of Kira Nerys, Visitor felt completely engaged on every level by the part. Visitor almost turned down the role, as her manager told her, "You will kill your career if you do this job." Visitor said, "By the end of the call, he had convinced me that I did want to be a part of it, whether it impacted the rest of my career or not. When I read the script, I thought, that's a man's role. That's not for me. Yet it was all I wanted to do. I hated every part that I had to play where I was chastising a husband or getting upset about the carpet. And I did a lot of those. Anytime I could get my teeth into something, that was my flow state. That's why I was an actor. Major Kira was like Disneyland for an actor." I'm going to read that again. When I read the script, I thought, that's a man's role. That's not for me. Yet it was all I wanted to do. I hated every part that I had to play where I was chastising a husband or getting upset about the carpet. And I did a lot of those. Anytime I could get my teeth into something, that was my flow state. That's why I was an actor. Major Kira was like Disneyland for an actor. And it's interesting that she observed and thought that initially that was a man's role, but Nana Visitor did that very, very well. On screen. What did I tell you, Jasad? There's your wormhole. And so I'm going to end with Major Kira's legacy and what made the character great, what made her a good example of a strong female character. And some of you may get tired of me doing that. I'm doing that for humor, but I think it illustrates how those how those characters are created today. The emphasis on being strong is emphasized. The emphasis on not needing men is emphasized. The emphasis on belittling men and making fun of men is emphasized today. But let's juxtapose that against how Nana Visitor portrayed Major Kira and how the writers wrote Major Kira. These are just some points and some thoughts that I wrote down myself. Major Kira was balanced. She was tough as nails, and she readily confronted and engaged other strong characters in the show and in the story. But she was also balanced and compassionate. All right. So there was a balance to her. She wasn't strong all of the time, whether that was dealing with a romance or actually finding out that there were actually some good Cardassians, and yeah. So she wasn't strong and confrontational all the time. She was balanced. Um, she was spiritual. That was a major part of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. That was a part of Ben Sisko's journey, and the Kais and the Vedics and the orbs from the prophets of the Celestial Temple. That was a part of the story, and there were many engagements with Kai Wynn and Kai Opaka and the Vedics, and there were many instances of Major Kira meditating in front of the orbs from the prophets of the Celestial Temple. She was a freedom fighter. Okay, she was spiritual, but she was also a freedom fighter, which was part of the basis of her character, and elements of that were brought back to the surface when the Cardassians and the Dominion took Deep Space Nine back over temporarily. She, again, going back to modern, strong female characters, in many instances, not needing men openly, not needing men, or not even liking men openly. She had romances. I'm thinking about her romance with Vedic Bareil initially in the series. And then Odo was a changeling, but Odo was considered a man as well, right? Odo was a man. He was considered a man, a male. There was her romance with Odo, and not the aspects of him being a changeling. That was a part of it, whether or not a changeling should be involved with a solid. But there were those dynamics of them navigating that romance and still having to work together on the station, and the complexities of that. And a lot of us have been through that, whether or not we work with someone, but navigating relationships with the opposite gender, romantic relationships. They showed that with her and Odo. So while she was strong and confrontational, and while she wouldn't back down in certain settings, she was also a woman. And she had relationships with men and romances with men as well. She served as a surrogate for Keiko and Miles O'Brien's child, for their second child, right? So they showed that this strong confrontational character could also carry a baby to term, a human baby, right? So these were all of the layers and the complexities that were written into the character, in much the same way that there were layers and complexities written into the Ben Sisko character and many of the other characters in Star Trek Deep Space Nine that made these characters compelling and engaging, and also that 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 continue to. This is why these characters have been endeared to us, and why we still love them many years later. And it's these complexities that are missing from many of the characters in cinema and in media and in programming today. Major Kira was balanced. She was tough, but she was also balanced. Help us? Yes, I know. The Kardashians said the same thing 60 years ago. So I think I'm going to wrap this up here. Again, she was a strong female character. This is the last time I'll probably do this, I promise. But she was balanced and three-dimensional, and that's what made the character fun. Uh, uh, in addition to her being strong and beautiful, she was also balanced and layered, and it was fun watching her engage with Captain Cisco and the Cardassians and Kai Wynn in particular, and other characters, and in some instances, caring for Zial and seeing that not all of the Cardassians were bad and evil. That to me was the legacy for this character. There are other things I could say about her personal life. She did marry, I believe, Alexander Siddig, who played Julian Bashir, who was another one of my favorite characters. I loved all the characters in this series, but it turns out that they had something going uh, uh, as the series went on off camera, and they had a child, I believe, as well. And maybe I'll do something on Dr. Bashir as well, and Jadzia Dax's. They were scientists and medical professionals, and I am a scientist, a biomedical scientist myself. By the way, I have a STEM channel, a science and technology channel. It's called Big Discussions 76 Science and Technology. If you're into STEM, please consider subscribing to that channel. I'll leave the link in the description box below. But that to me is what made all of that in total is what made Nana Visitors Major Kira Nerys great. So let me know what you think about Nana Visitors Major Kira Nerys in the comments section below. Let me know what you think about anything I've said in this video, or if you have thoughts on Nana Visitors Major Kira Nerys, let me know what you think in the comments section below. Sorry to be late, Major. Our friend Gul Dukat had some problems on the other side of the wormhole. I see you've had a few of your own. Hey everyone, this is Big Discussions 76, Entertainment and Media. My name is Dr. Anwar Youssef Dunbar. If you're new to the channel, please like, share, and subscribe. If you are a returning sub, please like this content and share it. If you want to donate something to the channel, my Cash App and PayPal are below in the description box. And also, please consider joining the Big Words LLC Newsletter. In addition to being a YouTube content creator, I'm also a writer myself with 2 blogs and a book project on the way. And with that, everyone, I'm going to wrap this up. As always, remember that your attitude determines your altitude. Always try to do your best. Take care, and I will talk to you the next time. Bye-bye. What's the matter, Dukat? Afraid we'll take the station away from you again?